Hey, what's happening everybody? Welcome back to Anime Casuals. I am Lucky. And today I'm going to be talking about anime video games that I've played throughout my life. Now, these games are in no way the greatest, but they just hold a special place in my heart. Therefore, this list is very biased and very subjective. So I tried to rate this list based off of how much fun and nostalgia I had with these games, because I haven't really played a lot of the newer anime games. But anyways, let's get into my top 5 anime video games that I've played. At number 5, J-Star's Victory Versus. Okay, now hear me out. This game is not like a traditionally great game, but I just felt like there was so much charm and personality that I didn't see in the newer Jump Force game. So funny story, Johnny actually got me this game and it was just collecting dust on the shelf for a little while. And one day I just got the weird inkling to say, you know what? It's there, it's anime, and I was just watching a ton of it at that time. This is around the time we started talking about the Anime Casuals YouTube channel. But funny enough, once I started playing it, I wasn't really into, you know, the dated graphics, the predictable story, the subpar combat system. But I do have to say, I started getting the same feeling that I felt when I would ever watch like those crossover episodes. A good example would be when Toriko and One Piece crossed over and Luffy and Toriko got to meet. Anyway, once I started opening up a little bit to this game, I started actually having a lot of fun with the repetition. I started having fun seeing different characters fight each other. When you're traveling around in this, I mean, to be honest with you, it's very linear, even though it says like world, but there's just so much influence from like places like One Piece and Toriko. And whenever characters would meet, I have to say they did a pretty good job of the dialogue between the two characters. Also, this game introduced me to a lot of anime. I think I got like 5 or 6 anime out of this one, but some of my favorites being Medaka Box, Toriko, and Saint Seiya. I can't say that this would win like Game of the Year or anything like that, but I definitely sank a lot more hours into it than I care to admit. Number 4, YuGiOh Forbidden Memories. I do just want to point out one very critical thing. I never beat this fucking game. I just remember waking up in middle school and like I would wake up 30 or 40 minutes earlier than before I had to walk to school, and it took me 30 minutes to walk to school just so I could beat some of these bosses. And there were numerous days where I would take on like Mai or Weevil or just any of these people because I could not beat them. One of the reasons being is this weird system that YuGiOh Forbidden Memories has in place. First off, you start off with some of the weakest monsters in the game, and it wasn't until a little while that I figured out that you could just fuse random monsters. For people that don't know the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh, there is this magic card called polymerization, and it will allow you to fuse 2 cards together in order to make a more powerful monster. But in Yu-Gi-Oh rules, you actually had to use certain characters for those cards. Example would be Summon Skull and Red Eyes Black Dragon make Black Skull Dragon. And Gaia the Fierce Knight and Curse of Dragon makes Gaia the Dragon Champion. In this game, however, if you want Dragon Zombie, well guess what? You just combine a dragon and a zombie, and poosh. You want a cat girl? Well, you know what to do. Combine a cat and a girl, and you get this mediocre cat girl card. I will say this, once you got the formula down, it was actually really addicting. I would just be obsessed with trying to fuse cards, and once I did, there was this just satisfying feeling of, I found a new combination. This is my first encounter with Yu-Gi-Oh games, and since then, I've played a couple other ones, but this one will always have a special place in my heart. At number 3, Naruto Shippuden Ninja Storm 2. But you could pretty much insert any of these ones. I've played most of them except for the first one, and they all have pretty much like a very similar gameplay elements of it. So I just wanted to make that clear. I don't really rate any of these above each other. This is just the one that I played the most and therefore had the most fun with. So one of the things that I think the Ninja Storm series did so well was remake some of the story elements to make it so that you're playing through it. So example, and like slight spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched Naruto Shippuden up to Hidan and Kakuzu, but the fight between Naruto and Kakuzu in the anime, I just felt it was a little bit lackluster, but in the video game, boy does that fight go hard. Just because I felt that Naruto should have been doing more on his own instead of just, you know, getting saved by Kakashi Sensei or Yamato. Whereas in this game, I mean, he does everything by himself. In fact, there's this cool moment where he loses his shit for a second and uses the Nine Tails power. It's really cool. Also, the Ninja Storm series has surprisingly easy gameplay, but with that being said, there's just enough variation on each character to really feel like there's a little bit of a difference to that specific character. Like when you play Rock Lee or Might Guy, you know you have to get close to somebody, whereas if you're playing to somebody, say, Deidara or Tenten, you know you have to keep your distance, and in fact, there are button prompts to help you keep your distance from people, and most of your attacks are long distance. Either way, the Ninja Storm series did such a great job in incorporating all of the fan service and all of the stuff that we wanted to see in a Naruto game. And to be honest with you, if this was like an objective list of like, you know, one of these big gameplay companies would probably rate it like at number 1 or something like that. But like I said in the beginning of this video, I have a lot of fonder memories of other games despite their flaws. At number 2, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. So I just want to make this very clear. I have played Budokai 1 and 2 and 3, and I think that 3 is the best one out of all of them. If you replay 1 and 2, you'll understand exactly what I mean. But Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, in my opinion, is where it's at. In fact, just looking at the box art again brings back so many memories. This box art is the definition of simple yet effective. First off, the combat system is so satisfying and so fast-paced, way before, you know, any of the newer games that came out today. And the moveset was surprisingly customizable. But the thing about those moves was you had to unlock them through the story or through other elements of the game. And even though this story isn't anything to write home about, I know we have a lot of sandbox games nowadays, and this is just simply you flying around a very, very tiny planet and going to random spots throughout that planet to progress the story. There was just so much to unlock, and when you weren't unlocking things, you were finding random encounters. I remember one of the coolest random encounters I ever had was facing Cooler. I had just watched the Cooler movie and I was like, it's Cooler, what the heck? And I started realizing this game had so many characters in it. I still don't know how I unlocked those scenarios, but it was just so satisfying that all of my gameplay loops just led to something like this. Then there was some RPG elements like the Dragon Arena. I don't remember it too much, but I just remember you had to face people who were constantly like leveled up, and they'd have more health, they do more damage. And it was just so fun to just keep on climbing the ranks. Then you had things like tournament mode, and you could just go up against people, and you would just feel like you just won the entire martial arts tournament from the show. Man, this game was a major part of my childhood, and that's what gets it the number 2 spot. Okay, so at number 1, you can tell there's a little hesitation in my voice. Mobile Suit Gundam Federation versus Zeon. Now I know what a lot of you guys are saying, what the fuck is that? I've never even heard of that game, or people who have played that game. What the fuck are you talking about? That game was so annoying, the controls were bad, the gameplay was repetitive, but hear me out. So for those of us who remember renting games from the local Blockbuster, or in my case, renting them from the local Hollywood Video, I remember I would always come across this game, and I beat it several times. And the cool thing about this game is you get to play as, the title says, either the Earth Federation, which is typically the protagonist, and the Principality of Zeon, or the antagonist. And you go about missions in iconic areas such as Jaburo or Side 7. However, you're not doing it as Amuro or Kai or Char. You're doing it as some unnamed pilot for the Federation or for Zeon, who just happens to have like every mobile suit at his disposal, but you know, it's a video game. However, you either fight with or fight against some of these major characters, or in some cases both. And let me tell you, you do not want to be on the other side of an Amuro beam rifle. I mean, seriously, he does a lot of damage if he hits you. And that's true for any of the major characters, which actually makes you feel more like one of these simple soldiers, because Amuro can shoot you in like 2 attacks and kill you. Now remember, I said this game is not perfect by any means. I mean, the space combat was complete dog shit and really slow, but I played so much of it that it seemed like it was just second nature to me. And there was a noticeable switch between the stories. Like if you're playing for the Principality of Zeon, you get a lot of mobile suits, but they're all kind of lacking in quality since they're mostly Zaku's. But if you're fighting for the Federation, you don't get a whole lot of mobile suits, but after a while you start to get some really high quality ones, like the iconic RX-78 Gundam. I'm really sad that I never actually bought this game, especially since as I'm looking at it right now, it's like 90 bucks. But this game will always have a special place in my heart, and it's the main reason why I started getting into the Gundam franchise. This game and another game called Journey to Jaburo, a little honorable mention there, were the games that made it so satisfying for me to watch Mobile Suit Gundam years later, and is why this game is number 1 on my list. What do you guys think? Were there games that you had fun with that you didn't see on this list? I can almost guarantee you there are. If there were, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. You can also email us at animecasuals with an S, real, R-E-A-L, @gmail.com. But as always, guys, don't forget to keep it casual.